The Ark convoy slipped out of the worm lane like a held breath finally released. From the outside, the three transports looked ordinary. Rounded hulls painted with faded humanitarian markings, engines tuned for fuel efficiency rather than speed. Inside, they were alive with noise. Children laughing, teachers calling names, soft music playing through corridor speakers calibrated to calm excited minds. Shoes thudded against deck plating. Someone dropped a data pad. Someone else clapped at the sound it made. Dr. Mara Venn watched it all from Lunar Station. Her image fractured across a dozen translucent screens. She had been doing this for 12 years, long enough to recognize the rhythm of a normal Ark run. The tempo was right. The margins were clean. Every child checked in, biometrics green, medical alerts dormant. She exhaled and reached for her coffee. "Director," said an aide quietly. "Customs ping." Mara's hand paused midair. "Source: Neutral Belt Authority. Serakai Registry." The word landed with weight. Mara straightened, fingers already moving. "Patch them through. Record everything." The channel opened to a voice wrapped in courtesy like a blade in velvet. "Ark Convoy, this is Serakai Enforcement Vessel Triune Mandate. You are operating within protected lanes. Power down and prepare for inspection." On the main feed, teachers glanced up as the lights flickered. A few children cheered, thinking it was part of the trip. One boy pressed his face to a viewport, eyes wide. Mara leaned closer to the screen. "Respond," she said. The escort tug's captain appeared, uniform plain, expression carefully neutral. "Triune Mandate, this is Civilian Convoy Ark 7. We acknowledge your authority and will comply." It sounded wrong. It always sounded wrong. But compliance was the point. Compliance kept patterns predictable. The Serakai ships emerged from sensor blur, sleek, angular, black as open space. Boarding clamps extended. Jamming fields bloomed, precise and suffocating. The escort systems dimmed obediently, as designed. On Ark 7, a teacher knelt to zip a child's jacket. "Stay with your group," she said softly. "It's just a check." Armored figures moved through the airlock moments later, tall and narrow, their plating absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Their helmets angled downward, scanning. One paused to peel a sticker off a bulkhead, a cartoon star with a smiling face, then dropped it on the deck as if it were trash. Mara's coffee went cold. "Director," her aide said. "They're boarding all three transports." "I see it," Mara replied. Her voice stayed level. She tapped a control, opening a secure channel that only she could authorize. Ark Safeguard Protocol 1 blinked to life. Names filled her screen. 1,200 of them. Children from Earth orbitals, from Martian cities, from new colonies still smelling of fresh soil and polymer walls. Ages ranging from 4 to 16. Alongside each name were notes parents had written, some clinical, some painfully human. Lena Voss, age 7. Allergic to kelp protein. Gets scared in loud rooms. Jared Mbeki, age 9. Stutter when anxious. Loves maps. Twins, Amora and Nils Chen, age 6. Will not eat vegetables unless cut into shapes. Mara read them all. She always did. The Serakai commander appeared on the public channel without warning. He filled the frame, elongated head, dark eyes set deep, ceremonial markings etched into his armor. His voice carried authority shaped by centuries of practice. "I am Praetor Regent Zalcor of the Serakai hegemony," he announced. "These vessels are hereby placed under protective custody." Protective. The word tasted like ash. "Under what statute?" the escort captain asked. Zalcor smiled, a slow, deliberate curve. Ward Clause 17. Any undeclared minor population transiting contested lanes is subject to guardianship review. Mara closed her eyes for half a second. The Ward Clause. It was old law, rarely enforced, designed for disasters and refugee flows, not kidnappings dressed as paperwork. "Children will remain unharmed," Zalcor continued smoothly. "They will be educated. Sheltered. Until your government demonstrates compliance." "Compliance with what?" Mara asked, cutting into the channel. Zalkor's gaze shifted, locking onto her feed. Ah, the caretaker. My name is Dr. Mara Venn, she said. Director of the Ark Safeguard Office. You are detaining minors under false pretense. Detaining? Zalkor echoed. No. We are protecting them from instability. From you. Behind him, feeds switched, classrooms under guard, children seated too straight, teachers flanked by Marines. The camera lingered just long enough on a girl clutching a stuffed drone, knuckles white. Mara felt the room narrow around her. These children are citizens of the Terran Compact, she said. Release them immediately. Zalkor tilted his head. In time. First, your leaders will sign the Eternal Protection Charter. Tribute will be arranged. Inspections scheduled. You will dismantle offensive capabilities within agreed margins. And if we refuse? Mara asked. The Praetor Regent gestured. The feed shifted again, this time to an empty classroom, desks neatly arranged. Then these wards will require reassignment. Silence rippled through Lunar Station. Mara's aide swore under his breath. Mara did not raise her voice. You are threatening children. I am offering continuity, Zalkor replied. Species survive by learning their place. Mara switched channels, opening a secure line to the Terran Council even as she kept the public feed live. Ark Safeguard Protocol 1 is active, she said. Confirm receipt. One by one, acknowledgements appeared. Military. Diplomatic. Logistics. Zalkor watched her calmly. You have 48 standard hours, Director Venn. You don't have that authority, she said. I have the children, he answered, and ended the transmission. The feeds did not go dark. They stayed on. That was deliberate. Mara knew the tactic. Fear worked best when it had an audience. She leaned back, hands folded, forcing her breathing slow. Around her, the station hummed, life support cycling, data flowing, people moving to meet an emergency they had trained for but hoped never to see. Begin verification sweep, Mara ordered. I want continuous vitals on every child. Cross-check names, locations, environmental conditions. Her aide nodded, fingers flying. Quiet net. Not yet, she said. I want patterns first. Another channel chimed. Private this time. Zalkor again. Director Venn, he said pleasantly. I have reviewed your file. No children of your own. Curious, for someone so invested. Mara met his gaze without flinching. Every child under my care is mine. A pause. Something unreadable crossed his eyes. You will learn, he said, that ideals make poor shields. Mara cut the channel. She stood, walking to the viewport overlooking Earth. The planet turned below, blue and indifferent, unaware that 1,200 of its children were now leverage. Her console chimed softly. The first full Ark Safeguard map resolved. Tiny lights representing children, clustered but steady. No sudden drops. No silence. Good. She placed her hand flat against the glass. I'm here, she murmured, not sure who she was speaking to. Then, louder, to the room. Notify the council. Prepare humanitarian response options. And quietly, very quietly, wake quiet net. Her aide hesitated. Director, if we escalate. We will not escalate, Mara said. Her voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Not yet. She turned back to the screens, eyes sharp. But understand this, she continued. There is a line in this universe. And if they cross it. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. On the main display, a child's vitals pulsed steadily. A small, stubborn heartbeat, refusing to be afraid. Mara watched it and began to plan. The Terran Council chamber was built to absorb pressure. Its walls were layered composite, its lighting neutral, its air tuned to slow the pulse. None of it worked. Voices overlapped. Data feeds scrolled too fast. Every screen showed the same thing. Children sitting under watchful alien eyes, hands folded, fear contained but visible. They've taken minors, Admiral Reyes said, palms flat on the table. That's an act of war. And they know it, replied Ambassador Halvorsen. Which is why they did it. If we strike openly, Serakai allies rally. We become the aggressors. Mara Venn stood at the edge of the table, silent, listening. She had learned long ago that urgency spoke loudest when given space. A general snapped, "We have assets in range. We could burn Karov Gate in minutes." "And kill the children in seconds," Mara said quietly. The room stilled. She stepped forward, projecting a map of the Serakai fortress. It looked formidable, layered defenses, redundant shields, dense internal compartments. "This isn't a battle problem," she continued. "It's a hostage system. Zalcor doesn't need to hurt them yet. Their value is leverage. The moment we act predictably, that leverage becomes a knife." The chairwoman studied her. "Your recommendation, Director?" Mara inhaled once. "We do what we've always done. We look weak. We negotiate. And while they underestimate us, we dismantle the environment holding the children." Admiral Reyes frowned. "You're asking us to sit on our hands." "No," Mara replied. "I'm asking you to move where they aren't looking." She gestured. New layers unfolded over the fortress map: supply lines, maintenance routes, trade schedules. Karov Gate isn't self-sufficient. It breathes through logistics. Food shipments. Oxygen recyclers. Software updates. Civilian contractors. She looked around the table. All of it is Serakai built. All of it is complacent. Halvorsen leaned in. "You're suggesting pressure without force." "I'm suggesting erosion," Mara said. "Quiet, legal, boring erosion. The kind that makes commanders nervous but not alarmed." A pause. Then the chairwoman nodded once. "Authorize quiet net." Mara felt the shift ripple outward. Across the system, people who never wore uniforms woke up to messages they had been waiting years to receive. On a freight hauler 3 jumps away, a logistics analyst rerouted a shipment flagged non-essential without comment. On a backwater relay station, a technician delayed a firmware patch by 12 hours. In a Serakai merchant hub, a human broker adjusted insurance terms, nudging risk assessments upward. Nothing dramatic. Nothing traceable. Inside Karov Gate, sensors began to disagree with one another. Mara returned to her office and closed the door. The arc feeds filled the room again: classrooms, mess halls, sleeping quarters. She studied posture, eye movement, the subtle tells of distress. A teacher leaned close to a camera. "They're behaving," she whispered when the guard stepped away. "But they're watching everything." "I know," Mara said. "Keep routines normal. Familiar is safety." "Are we coming home?" a small voice asked from off-screen. Mara swallowed. "Yes," she said. "You are." She ended the call and turned to a new feed, Zalcor's public address to regional powers. He spoke of order, of guardianship, of humanity's recklessness. His words were smooth, rehearsed, designed to reassure neutrals while tightening the vice. Mara opened a diplomatic channel and waited. He answered almost immediately, pleased. "You see reason," Zalcor said. "Your silence is wisdom." "Negotiation requires clarity," Mara replied. "I'm requesting humanitarian access. Medical evaluations. Children under stress require monitoring." He considered her, eyes sharp. "You will send inspectors." "Doctors," Mara said. "Pediatric specialists. Under your supervision." A beat. Zalcor smiled. "Of course. Transparency builds trust." "Agreed," Mara said. The channel closed. Around her, quiet net indicators pulsed: green, amber, green. Progress without notice. Hours passed. Then a red flag bloomed. "Director," her aide said. "Internal Serakai chatter. Minor systems failures. Nothing critical, but enough to irritate," Mara finished. "Good." Another feed opened. Private, encrypted. A logistics officer's voice crackled through. "We've mapped oxygen flow. Emergency ventilation protocols reroute through civilian corridors." Meaning? Mara asked. If triggered, the officer said, they'll have to move non-combatants to compliant zones. Mara's eyes flicked to the ARC layout. Classrooms to med bays. Yes, She nodded. Stand by. Zalcor called again that evening. This time, he sounded amused. Your people are restless, he said. Your council debates tribute. Some wish to comply. Mara kept her tone measured. We're a democracy. Debate is inevitable. And delay, he asked. Delay is caution. Caution, Zalcor repeated. Or fear. Mara leaned back. If I were afraid, Praetor Regent, I would be shouting. His gaze sharpened. Then you should be. He cut the channel. Minutes later, the feeds shifted. Guards entered classrooms more frequently. Surveillance drones hovered closer. A line of children was escorted down a corridor, hands clasped too tightly. Mara felt something cold settle in her chest. Status, she said. Vitals stable, her aide replied. But, Director, they're preparing something. Internal ceremony schedule just updated. Mara closed her eyes for a fraction of a second. What kind of ceremony? Designation of wards, the aide said. Cultural integration. Adoption announcements. Mara opened a secure channel to the council. Zalcor is escalating. He's moving from threat to theater. Admiral Reyes swore. We're running out of time. No, Mara said. We're approaching the moment he thinks is won. She turned to Quiet Net. Advance Phase 2. Prepare humanitarian vessel. A silhouette appeared on her screen, a squat, aging medical barge, hull scarred, markings faded. It looks obsolete, Halvorsen said over the link. Exactly, Mara replied. No one fears a hospital. The chairwoman hesitated. If he inspects it. He will, Mara said. And he'll see what he expects. Doctors. Equipment. Compliance. And the children? The chairwoman asked softly. Mara met her gaze. We don't move them yet. We make moving them necessary. The council fell silent. Later, alone again, Mara watched a classroom feed. A boy traced maps on his desk with a finger, lips moving as he whispered to himself. The girl with the stuffed drone tucked it under her chin, eyes fixed on the door. Mara activated a one-way audio channel, low enough to avoid detection. Listen to me, she said gently. You're doing great. Stay together. Help each other. The children didn't know who she was. They didn't need to. She cut the feed and straightened. Zalcor believed humanity's humility was weakness. He believed patience was fear. Mara allowed herself a thin, dangerous smile. Soon, he would learn the difference. The medical barge drifted into Karov Gate on thrusters so underpowered they looked apologetic. Its hull bore old scars, micrometeor pitting, sun-faded paint, humanitarian symbols worn thin by time. Serakai sensors swept it twice, then a third time, searching for threat signatures that were not there. What they found instead were sterilization fields, pediatric equipment, and the quiet redundancy of a ship designed to keep fragile lives alive. Docking clearance granted, came the clipped voice of Karov Gate Control. All personnel will submit to inspection. Dr. Elias Noor inclined his head and smiled at the camera. Of course, he said. We brought nothing sharp. Inside the barge, the lights softened. The team moved without hurry. Nurses checked seals. Technicians calibrated carts. A pair of operators, dressed as orderlies, secured a corridor that looked too narrow to matter. On Luna, Mara Ven watched the docking clamps engage. Phase 2 is live, she said. Begin passive mapping. On Karov Gate, children were led to the medical wing in small groups. Guards framed the doors. Cameras followed every step. A nurse knelt to apply a calming patch to a girl's arm. It's just a sticker, she said, cheerful. Like a bandage, but smarter. The girl nodded and held still. The patch glowed faintly, then settled. On Mara's screen, a light blinked to life and stayed steady. Vitals tagged, Quiet Net reported. Location confirmed. The process repeated. No rush. No fear. Stickers on arms. Soft voices. Familiar routines. Praetor-Regent Zalcor observed from the gallery, hands clasped behind his back. He watched the humans work and felt reassured. They moved like caregivers, not soldiers. They asked permission. They explained procedures. They thanked guards. They are exactly what they appear to be, he said to his aide. A species that survives by begging. His aide hesitated. Their equipment is precise. Precision is not power, Zalcor replied. Then the announcement echoed through Karov Gate. Attention, intoned the fortress voice. By authority of the ward clause, a designation ceremony will commence. Selected wards will be reassigned for cultural integration. Mara's hand tightened on the console. The feed cut to a hall dressed for ceremony. Banners, elevated platforms, Serakai officials assembled in rigid lines. 12 children were escorted forward. Names scrolled beneath their images. Random. Deliberate. Zalcor is accelerating, QuietNet warned. Timeline compressed. I see it, Mara said. She opened a channel, unencrypted, region-wide. Praetor-Regent, she said calmly. This action violates emergency guardianship protocols. Children cannot be reassigned under duress. Zalcor turned toward the camera, unhurried. You mistake firmness for cruelty, Directive N. They will be honored. They will be stolen, Mara said. Her voice carried, steady and clear. We do not trade children. A ripple passed through the chamber. Neutral observers leaned closer to their screens. Zalcor smiled. Everyone trades something. Mara held his gaze. Then you have never met us. He cut the feed. On the medical barge, Dr. Noor felt the shift before the alarms. Serakai guards stiffened. Internal comms spiked. Seal the ward wing, a Serakai officer barked. Doors began to slide closed and stopped halfway. Sensors flashed errors. Pressure differentials triggered emergency ventilation protocols. Evacuation to compliant zones, the fortress voice announced. Non-combatants will proceed to medical bays. Mara exhaled. Now. QuietNet unfolded like a quiet storm. Ventilation dampers opened along pre-mapped routes. Corridors filled with cool air and soft lights. Human staff guided children with practiced ease. Hold hands, a teacher said gently. Follow the blue arrows. The arrows appeared, maintenance indicators reproposed, glowing faintly along the floor. On Mara's board, lights began to move. Clusters broke into streams. Streams flowed toward docking rings. Keep it boring, she murmured. Boring gets us home. Zalcor realized the pattern too late. Countermand, he snapped. Seal all civilian movement. His command returned errors. Doors disagreed. Systems argued with one another, each convinced it was right. Praetor, his aide said, uneasy. Communications lag. External interference. Find the children, Zalcor ordered. Now. Marines surged into corridors, but the routes had changed. Where they expected straight lines, they found detours. Where they expected sealed bulkheads, they found compliant passage. On the barge, the first group arrived, wide-eyed, silent, gripping hands. You're safe, Dr. Noor said, ushering them aboard. Sit anywhere. We'll bring water. A boy looked up. Are we going home? Yes, Noor said without hesitation. We are. Outside, Serakai patrol ships maneuvered, weapons hot. The escort tugs drifted nearby, still docile. Zalcor snarled. Fire warning shots. The tugs shed their outer plating like old skin. Emitters woke. Space bent, subtly, decisively. A Serakai destroyer's drives went dark without an explosion. Another ship lost targeting and spun away, blind. No shots fired. No bodies vented. The message was unmistakable. Inside Karov Gate, Zalcor made his final gamble. Purge the ward wing, he commanded. Reassert control. Silence answered him. An officer swallowed. Praetor, the wards are moving under emergency medical authority. Orders conflict. Zalcor turned on him, fury sharp. Obey. The officer hesitated, just long enough. Mara's voice filled the ward wing speakers, warm and steady. Kids. Listen to me. Follow the lights. Stay together. If you hear my voice, you're not alone. Somewhere in the corridor, the girl with the stuffed drone lifted her head and smiled. The barge detached with its first load and slid free, shields blooming like a held breath released. It looped and returned, masked by interference and smoke. Again and again. On Luna, Mara counted lights until the board was full. All accounted for, quiet net confirmed. No losses. Mara closed her eyes. On Karov Gate, Zalcor stood amid failing systems and empty halls, watching the last human vessel slip away. His fortress still stood. His authority did not. The ceremony hall lay abandoned, banners hanging uselessly. For the first time in centuries, the ward clause had failed. And the galaxy noticed. The galaxy reacted slowly at first, then all at once. Trade hubs paused shipments. Neutral councils convened emergency sessions. Feeds replayed the same images from a dozen angles, human medical staff guiding children through smoke-lit corridors, Serakai ships drifting powerless without a single hull breach, a fortress that had kept its walls yet lost its prize. On Luna, Dr. Mara Venn did not watch the replays. She stood in the receiving bay as the hospital barge settled onto its cradle, magnetic clamps locking with a sound like relief. The hatch opened. Warm air spilled out, carrying the quiet chaos of reunion, voices breaking, footsteps rushing, sobs that had waited too long. Parents ran. Some dropped to their knees. Some laughed through tears. Some froze, afraid to believe until small arms wrapped around them and proved it was real. Mara stayed where she was, letting the tide pass. She counted as they moved, faces matched to names to lights that were finally dimming on her console. A boy with a stutter stopped in front of her, clutching a folded map. "Thank you," he said, forcing the words out like a victory. Mara knelt. "You were very brave," she told him. "All of you were." He nodded, satisfied, and ran to his mother. Only then did Mara's hands begin to shake. She turned away and opened a secure channel. Praetor Regent Zalcor appeared, armor dulled by emergency lighting. His fortress hummed behind him, damaged but intact. His eyes were sharp, furious, and, beneath it, calculating. "You have humiliated me," he said. "I returned children to their families," Mara replied. "Everything else is your interpretation. You interfered with Serakai law. You abused it," Mara said. "And now the record reflects that." She sent the data packet. It unfurled across his display, internal Serakai directives, hostage precedents, adoption transfers, propaganda scripts. Footage of the ceremony hall juxtaposed with medical extractions. Time-stamped. Verified. Legally devastating. "You will find," Mara continued, "that several Serakai houses have questions about your methods." Zalcor's jaw tightened. "They will not move against me." "They already have," Mara said. "Your supply privileges were suspended an hour ago. Your rivals prefer leaders who do not provoke logistical isolation." Silence stretched. "You could have destroyed Karov Gate," Zalcor said finally. "You chose not to." "Yes." "Why?" Mara met his gaze. "Because this was not about you." Zalcor studied her, searching for triumph. Finding none unsettled him more than rage would have. "This is not over," he said. "It is," Mara replied. "Just not the way you planned." She ended the channel. The council convened within the hour. This time, the chamber held no shouting. Only wait. Ambassador Halvorsen spoke first. "Neutral blocs are requesting clarification. They want assurances." Mara nodded. "They will have them." She stood and addressed the room. "Today was not a rescue," she said. "It was a precedent." A new framework appeared on the central display. Clear, concise. The Child Sovereignty Compact. No power may seize miners for leverage, Mara continued. Violations trigger automatic consequences. Trade denial, navigation blackout, maintenance embargo. No fleets. No bombs. Just isolation. Admiral Reyes leaned back slowly. And enforcement. We handle infrastructure, Mara said. Quietly. Universally. The chairwoman regarded her. You're proposing a rule the galaxy can't ignore. I'm proposing one it can't afford to break. The vote was unanimous. Across known space, the compact spread faster than any treaty in recent memory. Not because of humanity's morality, but because of its efficiency. Merchants endorsed it. Smaller powers clung to it. Even empires signed, calculating risk. Predators learned a new cost. On Serakai worlds, news traveled through channels Zalcor no longer controlled. His authority eroded in increments, command reassigned, privileges revoked, allies distant. He was not executed. He was diminished. For him, that was worse. Days later, Mara walked through a recovery ward where children slept in soft light, exhaustion finally overtaking adrenaline. A nurse adjusted a blanket. A toy drone hovered quietly, programmed to guard dreams. Dr. Noor joined her. They'll remember this, he said gently. Yes, Mara replied. But not as fear. That matters. He hesitated. You could have ended Serakai dominance entirely. Mara looked at the sleeping children. Power that forgets why it exists becomes the threat it claims to stop. Noor nodded. Later, as the station settled into night cycle, Mara stood alone in the observation corridor. Earth turned below, steady and blue. Her console chimed softly. An incoming message, unencrypted, from a neutral council. We underestimated you. Mara typed a reply and paused, choosing each word. You misunderstood us. She sent it. A small hand tugged at her sleeve. The girl with the stuffed drone looked up, eyes bright. Are the bad guys gone? She asked. Mara crouched to her level. They can't hurt you anymore. The girl considered this, then nodded, satisfied. She hugged her drone and walked away, humming. Mara watched her go. Humanity had hidden its strength for centuries, not out of fear, but out of restraint. The galaxy had mistaken silence for weakness, patience for surrender. That misunderstanding was corrected now. Not with fire. With accounting. And somewhere far from Luna, in a fortress that still stood but no longer ruled, Praetor-Regent Zalcor learned the lesson predators never expect. Some species do not bare their teeth until you threaten their young. And when they do not miss.